expecting another 170,000 in this. You know, people come to our office all the time, you have to pave my road, you have to do this, you have to do that. Well, I can't if I don't have the money, so I'm trying to work with people as best we can with drainage issues and things like that, so I don't know how you want to do it, because I have 4 budgets here.
Let's ask questions on this one first, if there
that's what I
are any.
figured.
We'll go department to department.
Sure.
So first of all, I commend you. You know, this is a big department. You know, it's $37 million, and you do masterful work with it.
3.7 million, not 37 million.
What did I say?
37 million.
37.
That's pretty good.
I just been given 33 more million.
Why?
I was trying to do
You can
the
do a
math
lot of
in my
roads now,
head.
Joe.
I was trying to do
Roads
the
for
math in
everyone.
my head.
Why our streets are not paved with gold, I don't know.
Yeah.
The point is, you do great work.
Thank you.
And you hold the line, and there's a lot of things that happen in this department that almost weekly I get together with Joe and say, we got another problem, or boy, can we do this, or how can we do this, and it gets done. It gets done within this budget. So, thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any questions on this budget?
One
Yes,
observation,
sir.
just one observation,
Sure.
clarification. On the 400 section, streetlights, that's number 210.
Yep.
If you compare it back to 2017, it looks like there's about $20,000, or a little bit less than that, savings. Is that due in part to the LED conversion?
The first year of the LED conversion,
If you compare
Was-
it back to 17.
yeah, the 17 was more expensive. Yeah. The first year of the LED conversion, which was last year, it was
Yeah.
more expensive because we were doing it in the middle of the year. So when we were doing that whole analysis, it's really based on a full year of savings when
Yeah.
we didn't. So that's the best way to answer, is that the first year cost more just because we converted middle of the year.
But the savings,
But we're enjoying those savings every
Right.
year now.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a few more
Eventually
years,
we'll-
we're going to be absorbing or enjoying significant savings. We're still paying off the
I see.
purchase and all that, so,
But we're starting to see it, it looks like.
oh yeah, we are seeing it. The residents seem to be happy. It's a better lighting. It's much more energy efficient.
we get to year 6 or 7, don't we? And then
Yeah,
all of
you're-
a sudden,
6 years, it's going to, this number could drop
This drops.
to 40,000.
Right.
I mean, not even half. It
Because
goes.
our payments are about 150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
That's the difference.
Significant.
It's a 90% savings
yeah.
Yeah.
in electricity and usage.
How's the maintenance been on those? Cost-wise, has it been?
It's good. We have, as factored into this, we have a maintenance contract where if someone calls up, there's a system that's routed just like we used to have with Eversource, where then they route the person out there. If for some reason one of these new lights isn't working, that's covered under warranty.
Okay.
One thing that if you know, like a storm the other day, if a street light comes down, if the whole pole comes down, now we're on the hook to put it back up, but that's kind of factored in. But so far, maintenance has been good.
Great. Any other questions on this budget? Terrific. Well, we'll move on then. Engineering is 105. Why we can't be in order here?
So there's 2 parts of it. There's the salaries and then there's everything else. Everything else is like almost $6,000 and it's very nominal as far as we have to do the stormwater management, the transportation allowance as far as covering the mileage and supplies to the office. I don't control the salaries, so they are what they are. That I will say that there's a way that the salaries are done in this town, so the percentages at the end is not what people are making. They're not making those increases, just to let you know. It's just a way.
You're referring to the 5%?
Yeah, no one's
So
getting
it's normally like a
no one's
2.5.
getting 5%, so that's going forward.
Right, we talked about that at one meeting. It was
Yeah.
the way it's budgeted or
It has to almost catch up,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying that no one's getting that, so that's, okay.
Any questions? This is an easy one, as you see. Go to the next one then, the IT department.
109.
109.
again, it's another pretty straightforward. I mean, there is a little more here. There is a copier maintenance line 214. We just got the copy bids back, and so we rebid. We had like 15 bidders, which was great. We had some very favorable numbers. So those numbers should be good, because if you see in the actual expense, we actually expended more in 2017 than we budgeted, but we got better numbers on this bid, so this number should be good. The $40,272, I will tell you, I have every dollar of that accounted for, as far as what that just goes into, whether it's the spam controls on the PD, or all the different IT work around, and everything is kind of, I have a very detailed breakdown of all the different items that this goes into, and we've looked at that every year. It's like bottom line, we build it up every year. Do we need this? Do we need that? But the town is growing as far as IT needs of all the departments, so the fact that we've been keeping this level while still providing, and we just did a transition with the police to independent, and we're still holding steady on these numbers, is actually pretty amazing, because we really only have one IT staff person in this town, which is, I mean, you could go to any town in this area. No town is like that. They all have at least two, if not three. The way we get away with it is to have Star Computers that contract, and Star's a local. He's a taxpayer of this town. He gives us a very, very good deal. I think it works out well for everyone.
Sure does. Questions on this budget?
Joe, are you comfortable with the level of cybersecurity we have?
I
know
am.
I
am,
seems
but
to be a big ramp up in
I am,
attacks.
although I am a little bit, what's the best way to wait? With the transition of the PD to, now the PD is responsible for dispatch, I really don't get involved in what's going on in dispatch. So when you're talking cybersecurity now, before we had this, we were part of the state system. Now we're on our own at the PD. So, with regards to cybersecurity in this building, we watch it. With regards to what's happening in PD, they have a whole another level of what you can't get into. So we're working on that, and we're trying to keep on top of it. I hope that's it's a little concerning, because
No, I just want to make
because
sure that where
this
you
is-
have
this
a,
is-
we're not. You obviously you have an eye on it, but just be aware.
We have an eye on
companies
it.
are being
Just,
attacked
I just
in
don't.
towns.
I don't know what the FBI requirements are. We're working with the chief right now. We think we have it covered, but there's a lot going on with the dispatch that I haven't been working with before. That used to be done through the fire marshal's office. Now it's done through the PD. So we're working with the PD very closely. We had a meeting about that recently to keep an eye on that. And
Yeah.
there's no concerns right now, but it's something we certainly got to keep an eye on.
I was able to receive a free review through our COG of cybersecurity, and how you can always get more, and you can always do more. But we came out with some pretty good scores and some suggestions on what we could do better, and we're working toward that. But we were able to do a comprehensive cybersecurity on our system here.
Great.
And also Star Computer has done a good job of watching over that as well. It's a scary world out there. There's all that hostage stuff where they take your files and demand payment to release them and stuff, and that's real stuff. And you're talking about files that have our citizens' records,
Yeah.
and all that, and it's happening to municipalities all over the place.
I assume there's a training for employees.
There is a little bit of that, but our IT person kind of watches over just the actual security of the whole system, But yes, we also go over what not to click, and
Yeah,
we
no,
get
that's-
cyber alerts a lot when there's a virus out there that we have to watch out for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like any corporation.
Absolutely.
Our one IT person, Carmen Ames, she does watch that a lot, but I do want the board to know, I think you know him long enough, and he's here tonight, Bill Shear, but he's very good at working with the PD and doing a lot. So even though he's the deputy director, he also does a lot with IT as
Sure
well.
does.
So I think people should be aware of that he spends time working on the servers and doing stuff to work with Carmen, which is a big help.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions on IT? 113 is building maintenance.
So this is the last of the four, and it's still, I'll summarize in the end the scorecard of all four departments, but this budget again, because of time, we are cutting back, like you heard from Dave Putnam, if he's lost an extra maintenance employee. We lost a 20-hour custodian here. That person was doing the PD, they were doing the field services building, and they were working up at emergency management. And we basically eliminated that because the person that was in that position, no one lost their job. That person actually got promoted to senior services position. So when that person went over there, we didn't fill that position. But again, it's a challenge because I didn't want to lose that. But again, how do you keep these budgets flat? It's just a good understanding of how do you keep a budget flat when you have to have contractual costs and you have to you have higher fuel costs and you have things like that to deal with. Is you have to do drastic measures. The drastic measures, especially is when someone leaves, you have to really look, do we really need that? So we lost a 20-hour position. What we've done is we do have 3 full-time custodians. One is at this building, two is at the community center. One's during the day, one's at night. All 3 of those custodians now have to go to other buildings. This custodian is now doing they always did the probate court, but they also have to go to PD. And then one of the custodians at the community center is going to the emergency management building, and the other custodian is going to FSB, the field service building. So it's kind of a pain, but it's got to happen. So that's.
And you've done a good job of managing through that. We lost some positions, some man hours through attrition, and we're trying to still manage through that. And that's true of any corporation in America and in every municipality, including the state. There's far less state employees in the state of Connecticut than there were just 5 years ago. That's for sure. Maybe thousands less, according to what you read.
So this budget is down 2.4%, and that's how we got there. Is we lost a position.
Yeah.
So if you total the 4 budgets of $4.85 million, we're down 8,400 or 0.2%. So we're dealing with contractual increases or potential contractual increases because most of the people in the bargaining unit are coming due for a contract negotiation. However, our budgets are still holding steady in these fiscal times. So I think that's pretty strong after coming off of consecutive years of over about 200,000 cuts to these departments.
Yeah. Any questions on this budget? Sure, it does a good job
Yes.
of explaining them.
Yes.
Yes, Dan.
I see that you were able to reduce the telephone expense.
Oh, yes, thank you.
How'd you achieve that? That's something you control.
Very fine tuning of our cell bills. No one lost their cell phone. In a lot of cases, everyone had the same plan, but you can actually make 0 minutes on plans because I was looking at the pool. So I was sharing the minutes with everyone in town that works, and I found out how many minutes we were using it. I went a little bit above that, and I basically had a lot of plans. So we have a lot of plans now. Instead of charging $51 a month for a plan, it charges $30 a month because they have no minutes, but they're pooled minutes. So we're not charging anymore, but it's significant. It dropped the bills.
Yeah.
Where our bills used to be $600, and when I started looking at it, now they're at $350. So that was to save $3,000. So actually, this line, we have the VoIP, the voice over internet, didn't have to pay capital. We have all the nutmeg network costs in here, and we're paying $3,000 less. That's a win.
Yeah.
And no one has, everyone still has a phone. We got rid of all the insurances too. We had like a third of the phones had insurance. Well, I have probably half of our phones have upgrades. So if we have an occasional someone that has a phone issue, we just pull an upgrade from someone else. So, but I don't know why we had insurance on these phones because we have so many phones you don't have to have insurance on them. And actually, when I told Verizon, they said, "Yeah, I agree."
Right.
So they'd love to sell it to you, but when you have this many phones, you don't need insurance. If someone loses their phone, you just use someone else's upgrade.
You can self-insure in a sense because you can distribute that
Correct.
risk over so many phones.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
That's
I thank you for bringing that up because that is, it's $3,000, but it's $3,000 less that the taxpayers have to come up with. So
But let me highlight what you went through very quickly. Is we also have a new phone system in the town hall, a new VoIP system. So we didn't buy, but we have a new package. These old phones that shoot, Roseanne, how old were they? 15, 20 years old that were sitting on the desk, and of course, very expensive to maintain when they get older and all that. We removed the capital and bought a VoIP system, which basically we got a brand new phone system that we thought we'd be paying tens of thousands of dollars for. We paid $0 for it, and our phone bill went down. Pretty good.
Well,
Pretty good.
That guy over there, point over here.
Pretty darn good.
Bill did that, and
So
he's
we found
actually,
some-
and the good thing, because we talk in the capital things, is the Board of Ed's looking to do something similar, and we've already done all the homework. So.
That's great.
Yeah, and now we can tie all the phones
They
together
got
too.
Collaboration.
And we'd like to share the copier contracts back in another one, but with them
Yeah,
as
we're
well.
working on that. Yeah,
Our copier contract is going to be very good.
good, great. Mrs. Hardy, you had a question?
Yeah, under the operating expenses. So when we see the telephone bill here for the maintenance of town buildings, then we're seeing the cumulative picture for all the town buildings.
That's, that telephone line is all the cell phone bills for all the town cell phones. And it's town hall and the community center. The transfer station and the phones at the FSB are paid by that department, by 317. So it's community center and town hall, which is the major cost of the phones. I think the PD also pays their phones
I think
directly.
they pay their own. Emergency management pays their own, I believe.
So, yeah, so it's those two major things, but
Yeah,
by having
water
this system, those are the most expensive phones, we have, Bill would even know better, we have a lot of phones here and a lot of phones at the community center, by far the most phones in town.
Right.
Okay. Now, with the shared custodial services, with people going to several buildings, are they able to keep up with more than just doing the trash and dusting the floors? Thinking of the long-term picture.
Good question. I mean, I'm glad you brought it up. Are they keeping up? I think so. Is every nook and cranny can get dusted? And I would have to say in this building, and I could easily say, but I work here, but at the community center, the level of service that our custodians provide in cleaning these things is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
That might go down a notch, but it's certainly, they'll do the best they can. I think they can keep up, but if they were in a building here, say 5 or 6 hours a day, and they gotta go over to the probate court, they might only be here for 4 hours, so there might be some things that we just have to work with. Because the other thing about the custodian here is on Fridays, he does building maintenance stuff with Mr. Bentz, our supervisor. And actually, that's something I don't wanna lose, because we save a lot of money having two talented people that know how to fix things, and they can paint, they can build cabinets, they can do all kinds of things. So I still have, it's a juggling act on Friday. Friday is gonna be a tough day, because they both work together on Fridays. But then they're gonna have to cut out around 2 and do the quick running around and picking up the garbage. So Friday's not gonna be a great day. The other days, you have to have someone here at night, because you can't have people in this room and the completely building unoccupied. And that person also locks up, just like at the community center. So we're gonna do the best we can. And I've talked to Mr. Nickerson, we're trying as best we can, but
It's a good plan.
I think it's gonna
It's a
work.
good plan. It's the right plan. We need, this is a good place that we could find efficiencies.
Yeah.
Well, I bring this up because oftentimes that is a place where we do cut back on building maintenance, and sometimes it comes back to bite us,
Yeah.
because our buildings are aging.
They did allow, between Mark and Anna, we did add a few $1,000 extra in overtime, because now we have 3 people instead of 3.5. So if one of those people's gone, now we're
Vacation
down
days.
to 2,
Yeah.
or it's vacation or sick. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
someone is out for 2 weeks, so we have a little bit better, more overtime budget. So we will deliver. We will do the best with what we have, but it's a necessity.
Keep in mind, Roseanne, that we're talking about janitorial staff, not the maintenance of air handlers and, systems. That's still being
That number
done.
didn't get cut, the 39, that's really essential.
Yeah.
That's the contractors that you come out, and
Yeah.
that's the electricians, that's the HVAC.
So we're still
that's the life
maintaining the
safety,
buildings. It's
for
the
doors,
janitorial.
all that kind of stuff that you can't even plan for is in that, we did not change that, and we still have all the service contracts. So I think the buildings are in good shape, and we have a facilities the 10-year facilities plan that can keep track of the stuff.
Terrific.
What's the fire protection line item? What does that include?
That's to the water department. That's for the 830 fire hydrants that the town, that the water
okay.
department provides, so that as soon as they pop off, it's all ready to go for fire. That's, it's actually more than that in a lot of other towns, but
Yeah.
Yep.
that's the
cool.
number.
Yeah, Mark, that used to be much higher, but going back about 15 years ago, Water and Sewer Commission reduced it. And it's slowly building back up, because we do have to maintain.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And, the
Yeah.
town benefits, and they are under
The town
the
benefit.
hydrants do belong to the Water and Sewer.
Maybe we get
That's what that,
Mark to
so,
start painting some.
Maybe the volunteer corps will
Maybe the
get out there and
volunteer
paint
corps,
some of
yeah.
them.
And whoever
we'll be working on
suggested,
that.
just volunteered to head
Yeah.
that commission, so you mentioned it.
You can coordinate that.
And coordinate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Bergal? We got to keep moving along. We have a lot
Joe,
of
just want
folks
to
here.
verify, your service contracts are not just to come in and take care of things that break. It includes preventive maintenance as
Oh.
well?
the service contracts are preventive maintenance.
Wanna make
This
sure.
is the standard, they come in and check it. Actually, it's the exact opposite. If things are broke, we have to pay for that. But, the PD and the community center are completely, you know what, if anyone breaks, it's on them. So it's kind of a risk. They take a risk, we take a risk. But there's too much equipment at the community center. If I ever try to do it, if anything breaks, with all the heat pumps upstairs and with all the other stuff.
Good, thank you.
We clear?
I think so, yep.
Thank you, Joe. Now, Joe, are you sticking around for vehicle acquisition?
Yes.
I also capital, but can capital move to the back side of this, Anna?
Well,
He doesn't need to be here for capital.
I don't even know what's on the specific capital line.
No, you don't need to be here for capital, but let's get you out of the way
Okay.
in order. So if with permission of the board here, if I can move 724 capital down to the very bottom, we can do that later, and we'll move into the CIP, the vehicle acquisition program, part of it, because this is Joe's baby.
Was Chuck's.
So would this be listed
That's
under
the-
our CIP? Anna, is this under CIP at the back, or do we
well,
have?
There's nothing in there.
There's actually, vehicle acquisition, Joe will just have to go over what's in it.
Okay.
There's nothing in your books on it.
Okay, we don't have anything to take a look at right now.
He can go through the departments and what's included in it for next year.
If you could walk us through it, and we'll
Yeah.
have a copy of this before we
Yeah.
vote on it.
So the vehicle acquisition is always part of the SIP, the SIP capital improvement part of the budget. We had a meeting, the SIP meeting today. With regards to the vehicle acquisition on the public works side, which most directly control, there's two things we're looking for. One is an autoloader truck. Every 3 years, we have to replace, we have 4 trucks.
Can we just say that's a dump truck or a
Yeah, when I say
trash?
autoloader, yeah,
the
it's-
trash
it's
trucks.
the automated garbage
Yeah.
truck.
See, with
It's the kind that,
the
you
arm.
know, we don't buy the rear loaders anymore.
Right, right.
And they're expensive trucks. The number I carry on is 300. That was been the budgetary figure. Mr. Holyfield last year was able to purchase one for 240, but that one was a last year's model that happened to be sitting on the lot that was ready to go. So it's actually part of the reason why we got the police cars last year. So I'm still counting the 300,000 here, but I am waiting on my master mechanic to get me the best number now. He's just too busy putting together the police cars. So I can only have him do one thing. So the other thing on here is to replace the trackless. As people are aware, we're one of like 4 or 5 towns in the whole state that doesn't have an ordinance to clean the sidewalks. So we have 14 miles of sidewalks. The responsibility and the liability is on the town to clear them. Good and bad. Good is that we have the equipment and we can do it. Bad is it costs money. And I throw that out there because the 2 pieces of equipment we have were purchased about 8 years ago from the town of Groton for $10,000, and they were falling apart then. And one of them now is completely shot. Its transmission is broke. It's not going to get fixed. And the other one was hanging on for his dear life. I don't know if people remember, but sometime this winter, it was like in early January, no sidewalks were being done, and God forbid, don't go on social media. We were getting killed. The sidewalks weren't being done.
Right.
All of our equipment was broken, you really can't expect that deployers are gonna go out and do 14 miles of sidewalk with a snow blower. It's just not possible, feasible, and you'll just have people in hypothermia. So, it's just too many sidewalks. So, we dug out an old Parks and Rec tractor that was just kind of on its last leg. So, also short, that's in there, that we have to replace this equipment, or else we're gonna be in a liability issue.
Even if we do pass a sidewalk ordinance in town, which I intend to at least introduce to this commission and to this town, we still need a machine that can clear sidewalks,
You
because
still
there's
do,
plenty
you
of
s- you
public
still have,
sidewalks.
you still have to do in front of town buildings, you still have to do in
Yes.
front of state properties, believe it or not, because they don't
Yes.
take the responsibility.
Right.
And, there's still gonna be a lot of abandoned orphan properties that you have to do it on.
And rural sidewalks. that
And
don't-
I have a bunch of years' experience in Stonington where they had the ordinance. It's not necessarily the best thing to have the ordinance as well, because it's not like then everyone does their sidewalks. You're constantly out there all winter long monitoring this, because
Right.
there's 7 locations in downtown where no one does.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do? Give them the fine in Stonington was $5. I'm sure they'd love a $5 fine. So you spent and it's always I hate to say it, it's always the person just had back surgery,
Right.
an 85-year-old person. It's like you're always getting on. So the ordinances, they sound good, but the way we do it isn't a bad way. It just costs money.
Right.
And if that money's not there, then we have to then look at other
So
means.
we're buying a trash truck, trackless, what we
that's
call a sidewalk truck, and that's
Yeah.
it for this
Yeah,
year.
and I was carrying an 80,000 number, and that might be significantly less than that. So
Okay.
I got the estimate just this afternoon, and I'll update that with Anna shortly.
You folks will see that in your CIP when we do review the capital at a later date.
Yep.
Okay.
Police have, I believe, I don't have their numbers in front of me, but are looking for two new cars and a detective car, which I think at the CIP meeting was talking about 150,000. They're going to have those built, just so the board knows. The highway mechanics took up the of trying to put the PD cars together this year. They have the ability. It's time. We've had someone hurt for a bunch of weeks now, but just in general, we started putting these things together, and then we got into snow season. We're out fixing plows. That's more important than the PD. So we're going to have the PD have these outsourced like we used to do, and they're about 60,000, 60,000 a piece after equipment. So the PD has that. There's nothing on Parks and Rec. I don't believe there's any other vehicles. So this is a very light year.
Very,
vehicle.
very, very,
I
like
mean,
the
everyone knows
lowest.
you're not getting something unless you really, really,
Right.
really need it.
And we're taking some of that, the police money is going to come from their
Right, so,
funds.
now we're segregating the portion of the outside police work that is related to the vehicle charge and depositing it into CNRE for future purchase of police vehicles. So we just started doing that in October, and we've actually received a little over 8,000 at this point. And so in speaking with the chief and Sergeant Masick today, we feel we're going to have to run the vehicles through the acquisition program for the next 3 years. But those funds will make the payments for those vehicles. And then after the 3 years, we feel that we'll have built up enough cash to then be able to pay cash for the vehicles going forward. We just need time to build up the fund. And we're starting late this year.
Questions?
Mark, those 2 items that we just talked about, that's not in the capital improvement? Because I noticed there's a couple line
Yeah.
items for public works, for snowplows and trucks in the capital budget.
Yeah, I don't know what you have in
It
front
would
of you.
be in acquisition payments.
We
Because
don't have that in.
we purchase all these,
Those are gonna
that's
go,
why it's called acquisition, that's what we do
it's
the
more of
financing plan.
it's a finance, these are actually outright purchases. That explains it, thank you.
Is the roads being discussed? Because I can give a 30-second. Are they talking about the roads, the road bond?
Right, but that